In the city, we gon' slide, bet I be there pronto.
Moving on, next story. This is more relevant to Toya and I. George went from Oklahoma to Texas. He deals with this on a daily basis. Non-white anti-blackness in LA City Council. Nuri Martinez, the LA City Council president, has recent. You said what?
I live in Texas now, though. Shit. So you know what I'm saying?
So
you live in very conservative. You went from conservative place to conservative place where this is expected. We live in a liberal oasis where people were stuck, been shocked to learn that their non-white Latino political leaders were behind some very insidious and incendiary remarks. So that's, I think, what Floyd is getting.
So just real quick background on for all our non-Californian people. Nuri Martinez, who's the city council president for Los Angeles, Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon were all reprimanded and censored by LA City Council. Now, LA City Council does not have the ability to expel members, but Nuri Martinez, who says some of the most salacious shit, has resigned. Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon have been censored by City Council due to a 2021 recording. Now, it was done secretly, which is.
Can you be clear about what censored means? Is that the obvious kind of meaning of they are not allowed to speak out and participate in the inner workings of city politics? Or what does that mean?
It's wholly symbolic. It's so City Council is pretty much saying they're saying we're reprimanding them for still remaining members, but they can still participate. They still have like full.
And to be clear, they are refusing to resign. Like these are direct, vehement, heels in the ground, 10 toes down. I'm not quitting my job. Refusals to resign, which is why they ended up having to be censored.
Right. Now again, Nuri Martinez, because she had made a comment about like she had called like black people monkeys or black kids monkeys. So she out of there.
It was a small child, a little boy on a float that I think they were at some type of float for maybe George Floyd or maybe something like that. And I guess he was like 3 or 4 doing what 3 or 4-year-olds do. And by the way, he is a black child who is fostered by a white council member. And so not only was it just a black child, but it was also the child of one of her colleagues who she called in Spanish, basically a little monkey, and said he was flying around like a little. And he needed his ass beat. He said, I wanted to beat his ass, take him around the corner and beat him up real quick.
Right. So there was a secret recording done in 2021, which is illegal in the state of California. It does require 2-party consent. So there is an investigation to how this recording came about. But aside from the fucked up comments that was made, they were exposed to have plotted to protect political influence by redrawing council districts to the detriment of the black constituents and renters. So black people, but also people who rent don't necessarily own their home. So what we see here is not only is there a messed up perception of black people that's coming out of non-white individuals, but it's also these non-white individuals who also have extensive political power, specifically in the city of Los Angeles, are also using their perception and that power to make sure that they hold on to their political influence at the detriment of black people. Specifically, because you see how it was like black. If you look at the LA Times article, it's blacks and renters. So uniquely fucks over black people. But then if you happen to rent, which is like most people in Los Angeles, because owning property in LA is damn, you got to damn near be a millionaire to do that. So with seeing this take place from other non-white individuals, how do we approach challenging non-white anti-blackness both socially and politically? Now, we can't respond to them the same way we respond to white people, right? Because there's supposed to be certain coalitions and understanding that we're supposed to have with each other. So from y'all perspective, given what's happening in LA, what is the appropriate response to challenging non-white anti-blackness both socially and politically?
I think there has to be a lot of collar yanking and there has to be a lot of self-accountability, right? To say what should we do or what should we have to do would mean that we as black people can go and jump into these other conversations the same way we can't jump into white people conversations. We got to be like, you need to go get your mans. You need to get your people. You need to sit around the table during these holidays and talk to your family. It's the same expectations. And I will say, I have been impressed with the responses of multicultural groups across the LA area showing up, gathering the fuck out of them. Indigenous people was up there pissed and going off. about the way that these politics have been playing out both in terms of the redistricting and in terms of the racist remarks that were happening. Latino communities was up in there deep. Asian communities up in there deep. It was really a great demonstration of the fact that we not letting nobody get off with this shit, even if you look like us, because if you do it to them, you'll do it to us too. So we always have to be skeptical about the metrics of how you are conducting yourself behind closed doors and what that might mean in the bottom line of this city. So I will say, I don't think there's a perfect way outside of people self-regulating inside of their own communities. Y'all know what it looks like, feels like, sounds like to be rejected, to be marginalized, to be erased, to be silenced. And so I think it is an opportunity, just like every other time, for you to get your mans, get your auntie, get them. They tripping.
Get your people. Hey, get your people.
Them. And I mean, and LA City Council has seen hell. They have not known peace. These people have been relentless in disturbing their ability to conduct city business. And no, and in that way, you know how they say the kids are going to be all right. Like, all right, we might be all right. The society the community might be all right, just in terms of the response to this shit on a community level.
So Toya, you saying that not only, so from our perspective is get your mans, but there are other non-white individuals that's like, yeah, we need to check y'all.
Yeah, I mean, there were Asian American. There was just so much representation, and we know in Southern California, Asian representation is vast. Southern California is the largest population for a few different Asian cultures or Asian ethnicities outside of their particular homelands, and so a lot of people showed up out there, and it was, I mean, of course, more. And I don't even live in LA County, you know what I'm saying? So I've only been tangentially listening to and paying attention to how things are unfolding.
With your old Orange County ass.
I live in the county of Orange, where the real racists participate in my
we out here. Toya is an Anaheim Angels fan. Lee, now Lee, you deal with a lot more because you deal with a lot of conversations that have to do with Black people, right?
Yeah.
So from your perspective, so I know you've already had to deal with certain people, because even in our comments, it was somebody that came out and was like, in one of our shorts on YouTube, somebody came out and was like, as a Mexican, why everything got to be black and white type shit. So if we approaching it from the education is elevation conversation, like, how do you approach the like non-white anti-blackness?
In all communities, it's a paradigm of light skin, of a dark skin. And I think that once I get anybody to concede and or acknowledge that in all communities, it's cross-cultural to value the light-skinned people of your community more than you value the dark-skinned people of the community. And we get into anti-blackness, or we get into how, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's the way I go into the conversation. I think that like acknowledgement is especially in this instance, it goes very far. I can get non-white, non-black people to see how they buy into anti-blackness or deploy tools of white supremacy. It's like, yeah, you need to see how you also try to get closer to mainstream America by conforming to the ways they see Black people, and recognizing that in a liberal state like, you know what I'm saying, California, and in a conservative state like Texas, there are a lot of specifically people of Latin, you know what I'm saying,
and Florida.
You know what I'm saying, in Florida, that in New York, that like to play with different tropes of anti-blackness to try to get closer to whiteness and white people. So it's really thinking about how resources, access, you know what I'm saying, and opportunity a lot of times are structured by your proximity to whiteness and white people, or your willingness to distance yourself from blackness and Black people. And that's usually how I approach that conversation.
1000%. One thing I do want to think about too, and I posted Tashi's comment, but I want to go back to it. They say, agreed, as a Latina, we need to call out our own. We got Afro Latinx people in our community, but they act like they don't exist. Black and Indigenous people get viewed as less than, and it's time to do better. And so that correlates directly not only with the notions of colorism, but colorism often exists because of intersectional identities, because people are multi-raced. And so they, as Black Latino folks, as Black Asian, Blasian individuals, right? It's all these different kind of mixing and overlapping.
Is that the official term?
These are names. This is not. It's not derogatory. They call themselves. A lot of
No,
people
I
call
know it's not
themselves.
derogatory. I know it's not derogatory. Malaysian is not derogatory, but it's
I just
the
want to be-
official term.
Listen, I have degrees in communication studies. I'm nobody's sociologist, but what I will say,
Flexing.
that's all I'm saying.
flexing.
But what I will
It's
say,
a hard time getting that. For blood, sweat,
Is-
tears, man.
From Wake Forest, by the way. So when y'all hop in our comments and y'all be, she has a she has a master's in rhetoric
communication
from
rhetoric.
Wake Forest University.
I do.
Okay.
And they
Not again.
hated giving me that degree.
One
I
of-
got my shit.
One of the top communication programs in the country.
That way.
I
Top
know
That we
25.
already know.
Top 25, dare I say top 10. Doesn't matter. What you should understand is that there is a lot of overlapping that becomes necessary for people who are living in the same households, in the same blocks, on the same neighborhoods, with these people to show up and either be a part of those conversations or recognize that they are implicated in those conversations themselves. And so a lot to be seen in terms of this issue. A lot of, and it was very interesting. I think this, it might have been, I don't know if it was De Leon or Sadeo who were talking about their refusal to leave because they feel like their presence is necessary for the healing process to really start to build back and to kind of come back and be stronger after these types of issues. So they feel like their stance and staying is one that is not, tucking your tail between your legs and running and hiding in the face of the adversity that you have caused, but rather they want to stick around in the thick of it and rebuild from the inside out. And so I say all this to say, but I'm excited to see. Well, I mean, and here's the thing, when we talk about restorative justice, when we talk about restoration, when we talk about healing relationships, and I'm no therapist, I don't have any psychology degrees either, but I am very aware of the various ways we go about coping, dealing, and handling people who have wronged folks who are part of communities. And when we look at, not to make levels and layers out of pain, but some people might say these were problematic comments. These were sentiments that can be corrected and changed. Nobody was sexually violated. No money was stolen. No, you know what I'm saying? But in ways, when you talk about redistricting and stuff, you do manipulate resources. You do move around the possibility of people to open businesses, to have access to proper schools. So it's complicated. But I will say LA is an interesting place right now for the leaders and the people who are making decisions. So stay tuned because things are ever changing.
Right. All right, moving on. The next story that we have for the night in the political chop is another thing that we deal with out here in California that would never be a conversation in Texas, Lee, or Oklahoma, Lee, is reparations.
I wasn't trying to turn into a debate, but it's like you recognize the pervasiveness of anti-blackness. I live in Texas, born and raised in Texas.
Born and raised, right?
Crazy if you don't think that we don't deal with no. Yeah.
No. Yeah, that. But I know that's why I said, how do you strategize against it?
Oklahoma, I would say, is a lot different because the black
it's
population in the Mexican population is slim. You feel me? It's like
compared to Texas.
You know what I'm saying? Compared to Texas. But I will say the uniqueness is, growing up in Texas, anytime I heard about the black and brown wars in Oklahoma, in California, I always thought like in Texas, black people and Latino people, we know how to stay in our own lanes. We don't be having beefs like that, or at least with the part of Texas I'm from.
Right. That's called segregation.
You know what I'm saying? It's like shit. We good. Hey, in my hood, I went to school with a bunch of Mexicans. I lived next door to them.
You went to the nigga school, yeah.
You feel me? Like it was nothing but like blacks and Mexicans there. You know what I'm saying?
No, shout out to Bryan, Texas. I know the first time I traveled there, I woke up. Like, I was sleeping George Carr, and I woke up, and he was like, "We here," and I look up, and I'm like,
"With the crowd."
So, hey, with that being
said, that I want to go only because I know doggone George Lee. I feel
like
Lee,
we gotta take Toya. We gotta take Toya to Bryan. Matter of fact, we gotta take Toya to Bryan to meet Pops. We got because I ain't met Pops. We gotta meet Pops.
Yeah, put in Houston. I got you.
We go to Bryan because my wife went to college. My wife went to Texas A&M University, which is like right next to Bryan College Station. So yeah, it's some stories I done heard. But check it out. Moving on real quick.